I'm building a tiny home, and I would like to preface by saying don't do it. I think that's all I had to say. Thanks for that.
Now, caravan living, each council has a different rule on this, but majority of them will not let you live in a caravan or a tiny home for more than 60 days to 112 days of the year.
Tiny homes on wheels can sometimes be classified as RVs, and in some places there are restrictions on allowing people to live full-time in RVs.
So the only thing where you can put your clothes is this 3 little compartment thingy, and then under the bed. That's just no way to live.
One day I came home, there was a piece of paper in my yard. It was a note from the county stating that my house was not in code.
Sure enough, over time, you start seeing more and more people start making these complaints online about the tiny home they didn't get.
For years, tiny homes were sold as the ultimate solution to America's housing crisis. You get a smaller house, you'll have a smaller mortgage, lower utility bills, less stuff equals less stress, right? And most importantly, more freedom. That idea sounded almost perfect. Instead of spending decades paying for a massive house, why not just live with less? And so tiny home videos exploded across social media. We saw beautiful little houses with modern kitchens, cozy bedrooms, clever storage space, and huge windows. They looked peaceful and affordable, and like the perfect escape from America's increasingly expensive housing market. But there are some things that these picture-perfect tiny home videos don't always show. And that's what happens after the honeymoon is over. Because there are many people who are saying that actually living in a tiny home is very different than what they expected. And we're going to hear from those people today. But before we get into this, you guys, if you enjoy my videos and my content, please remember to leave this video a like. It's really going to help my content get out there on YouTube and help my channel grow. All right, let's get to it, because we have a lot of people who regret their tiny home purchases.
Now, we are currently living in the trailer, but we did live in the tiny house for 3 months while we remodeled the trailer, and honestly, it was unbearable. Let me show you. As you can see, there is pretty much zero storage in here. There's no countertop. Every time I was making dinner, it was such a hassle. All those 2 shelves, this one is way too high. Can't really store anything. I also don't have any real kitchen cabinets. And my parents-in-law will be spending 6 months here. I want them to feel like they're not living in a shed. Yes, it's a 10 by 24 shed turned into a tiny house, but that does not mean that you have to feel like you're living in one, right?
There's just no storage, no closet, no nothing.
So the only thing where you can put your clothes is this 3 little compartment thingy, and then under the bed. That's just no way to live.
So my plan is to put also some high cabinets next to the bed, maybe some hanging storage and some hanging cabinets on top of the bed. I don't think there's anything I can do in this bathroom. That's just what it is.
I mean, that's just the first thing that came to my mind. I'm pretty sure there's 1 million more things that I hate about living in a tiny house. It wasn't that bad, but it was pretty bad.
The worst mistake that you can make when living in a shed house is not thinking about ventilation. Behind me is our old converted shed temporary house. I do not miss that thing at all. Is it an adventure? Yes. Would I do it again? Hell to the no. Unless I had to, I guess. I don't know. Usually they're a very small space. Air really needs to be moving because it can cause a lot of things that you don't think about. A lot of these things, they don't have vapor barriers in them. A very tiny space, a lot of moisture builds up. With mold issues, it can cause respiratory issues. So I definitely advise putting a bunch of windows, and I definitely suggest if you have a loft, using like a hole saw and making holes just to like keep that air moving. As far as the worst things, that's pretty much the first thing that came to mind.
I'm building a tiny home, and I would like to preface by saying don't do it. I think that's all I had to say. Thanks for that.
I live in a tiny home, and the one thing I hate is that it constantly looks messy. There has to be nothing out in order for it to look clean. If all of this stuff was out in a normal house, it would look clean. But since it's in such a small space, it looks so messy.
So one of the major issues that people run into from romanticizing the tiny home life, and I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with it. I myself have never tried it. So, I'm just from the outside looking in. But one of the major issues that people run into is the land problem. Okay, this is one of the biggest surprises. They bought the tiny home, but where are they going to put it? A tiny home still needs somewhere to sit, right? And depending on where you live, zoning laws, building codes, and local regulations can make finding a legal place surprisingly difficult. And so some tiny home owners have ended up renting space on private property, living in RV parks, placing their home on rural land, or moving from location to location. And if the tiny house is built on wheels, that doesn't automatically mean mean you can park anywhere you want to. And that's something buyers need to understand before spending tens of thousands of dollars on their tiny home. Because imagine buying your dream tiny home and then discovering you can't legally put it anywhere you want it. Now you're paying for a house that you don't have a place for. And that's not exactly the financial freedom that people were promised.
Did you know that in some places it's illegal to live in a tiny home? Tiny homes on wheels can sometimes be classified as RVs. And in some places there are restrictions on allowing people to live full-time in RVs. And then tiny homes on wheels, which are different than the tiny homes that are classified as RVs, are in this legal gray area. And so people don't know how to classify them. And so sometimes those are also restricted from people living in them full time. And tiny homes could be a part of the solution to the housing crisis that's going on. But in order for that to really happen, we have to get to a place where there are standard building codes around how tiny homes are built, and therefore easier zoning and permitting requirements for people who either want to live tiny on their own land or developers like me who want to develop tiny home communities.
Truth about buying land, going off grid in an RV or a tiny home. If you've seen my previous video, you already know how to go find land and how to buy land. But what you also need to look up is permits, zoning, if you can build, if you can live in an RV, if you need a septic, what type of water you need hooked up, all of that. Not all states are going to allow you to live in a tiny home or live in an RV. And some counties require you to have a septic. And most places are going to make you get a permit. Whatever state that you choose, you need to go to the county website and see what permits you need in order to live off grid. It's not always the cheapest way to go up front, but it is a long-term investment to be able to own your land, own your house, and not have to pay any bills in the future.
I live in a tiny house. Don't make the same mistake that I did. I paid $6,000 to get the water, electric, and plumbing hooked up from my parents' house to my tiny house. As they were doing it, it looked like something was not right. All of the pipes were in one trench, and we took videos, and we also let the guys know we had concerns, and they told us everything was fine, blah, 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 but we had pictures and videos for just in case. One day I came home, there was a piece of paper in my yard. It was a note from the county stating that my house was not in code. Fast forward, we ended up getting somebody to come out to check everything out. Thank God, because as they were doing the inspection, they saw that this was extremely out of code and an extreme safety hazard. So we told the company that did it in the first place. They came back out to fix it. As they were fixing it, the county came out again. The inspector ended up talking to the county and let us know that even though my parents' septic can hold mine as well as theirs, in order for both structures to be under code, they need to be on their own septic. Learn from me and do your research and make 100% for sure that your septic situation is in code and is taken care of before the work is.
Another thing to consider when buying a tiny home is that it doesn't automatically mean that it'll be inexpensive, because some owners are discovering that tiny homes can be surprisingly expensive because they're highly customized. I mean, think about it. You have a tiny kitchen, it still needs appliances. Your tiny bathroom still needs plumbing. Your tiny house still needs insulation. It needs electrical work. It still needs heating and cooling. Okay? And if something breaks, you're still paying someone to fix it. You don't necessarily eliminate the cost, you just eliminate some of the space. And that's a very important distinction. And then there's the storage problem, okay? At first, getting rid of stuff sounds amazing. You're cleansing your house out. You're getting rid of a bunch of old stuff that you forgot about in the basement. You're decluttering. You sell your old furniture. You donate clothes, whatever. But then life starts happening again, right? You're buying groceries. You get packages in the mail. You buy winter clothes because it's cold now. You need cleaning supplies. You acquire hobbies. Okay, maybe you have kids or a pet, and then you buy toys for them. You get things for their school. People tend to accumulate a lot of stuff over time, whether they think they're living a minimalistic life or not. Sometimes, especially when you have other people living with you, when you have children, you tend to accumulate way more than you anticipate. So even though someone transitions into a tiny home, that doesn't mean they automatically transition mentally into a tiny home lifestyle. They still have to make that adjustment in their head because psychologically, they're used to being in a larger space and they don't even know it. Their subconscious and their body is used to being in larger spaces. So once they actually get into that tiny home, it might start to feel suffocating and it becomes a bigger adjustment than they ever anticipated.
So we downsized multiple times. So when we were in Texas, we were in 2,500 square feet. When we came to California, we lived with my parents for a while, and then we moved into 1,500 square feet. And then we moved back in with my parents, and then we bought our property. We bought our property, moved in with my parents, and then moved into our tiny home. And our tiny home is 340 square feet. So we just are downsizing and upsizing in different ways, and it's challenging in different ways. You just accumulate things, and over time it gets overwhelming, and you look around and you're like, I have so many items, and you just end up doing a lot of stuff management. And so that's what I'm doing right now. I'm currently managing stuff. The journey to getting organized and a purging of things that we don't need has started. It started a while ago, but now I'm really in it, and just each day trying to do a little bit, as much as I can, because I want to feel a weight lifted off of me of managing stuff all of the time.
And initially when I moved in, I was doing some serious downsizing. I had a close friend of mine who said it was downsizing on steroids. I moved from what was a 3,500 square foot home into a 400 square foot home. Sold a lot of stuff. I gave away a lot of stuff. I erected 2 storage sheds and still didn't have enough space for everything. And I remember when I was trying to pack my kitchen stuff, I realized I could only have 2 drinking glasses and 2 teacups because nothing else could fit. And these things come as sets of 4, but it could fit. And I said to a girlfriend of mine, this is harder than I expected it to be because these are stuff I've had for years. Some of them are sentimental. And she's like, don't worry. If we ever come over for drinks, we'll bring our own glasses, right? Fast forward a year later. And even now that I've done the extension and added more cupboards to the kitchen and stuff, some of them are empty. And I no longer feel the need to stuff them with things.
So one of the biggest things that people don't really consider, and this is one that's really big for me, and that's privacy. So if you're living with kids or you're living with, a significant other or whatever, you're going to lose a lot of privacy. You're going to lose a lot of alone time, and just space in general to go and be by yourself, to get away from the others in the household. All right. So then you will you'll have to go outside somewhere. And so depending on the weather and where you live, that's not always an option, right? So I think that's one of the major things that people don't always put at the forefront when they think about tiny homes.
Let's talk tiny home living in Australia. Now, you probably see a lot of us living really beautifully in our tiny homes, off-grid, living sustainably, living simply. The truth is, a lot of us are living in fear, a lot of us are living in secret. You want to live simply and sustainably in Australia? Good luck. It's filled with a bureaucratic nightmare of red tape between council and state laws, overlapping each other or just passing the buck to each other. There's no national laws for tiny homes. State government want fixed homes. That requires DA approvals and going through that whole process. If you're in a tiny home on wheels, you're considered a caravan. Now, caravan living, each council has a different rule on this, but majority of them will not let you live in a caravan or a tiny home for more than 60 days to 112 days of the year. Aren't we in a housing crisis? Yet here we are, fully off-grid, on a 27-acre property, regenerating the land, planting koala corridors, doing all sorts of things that are good for the environment, and we're facing being kicked off our land. We're creating real environmental wins with zero strain on public services.
Oh, look, another tiny home company going out of business. And this story has been repeated a million times because what happens is this. Every tiny home company that starts off goes out with a bang. They have a huge social media marketing campaign and they make these homes very affordable and appealing to the masses. These people start collecting deposits and even full payments for these houses, and they get too big too fast. They can't keep up with the amount of orders that they've placed, and they get in over their heads because they won't say no when they can't do those homes. Sure enough, over time, you start seeing more and more people start making these complaints online about the tiny home they didn't get. And then the builders start making excuses on why they haven't gotten their tiny home.
I never got it.
What's his latest excuse?
They're not talking to me anymore.
And then within a year, you see them file for bankruptcy. And some of them are very malicious, and they never intended to build these houses in the first place. They made these demos just to collect the deposits and skate out of town before they got caught. And eventually they do get caught.
I live in a tiny home, and here are 5 reasons why I hate it. Number 1, since it's only 399 square feet, I hear every single noise that goes on outside. So if a tiny tree branch falls, I hear it, and it sounds like it's in the house. Number 2 is the water heater. My shower literally only gets hot for like 5 minutes. After that, it's cold because it only fits such a small water heater. I haven't looked into it to see if I can make the water heater bigger, but I need to do that ASAP because it's horrible. Number 3 is the AC. So I have 2 mini splits, one in the downstairs bedroom and then one in the living room area right by the staircase. And I'm a hot sleeper, so I would have wished that I would have gotten the other mini split inside of the loft area where I'm sleeping because I have to have a fan directly on me. Number 4 is it took me forever to figure out how I could get Wi-Fi inside of my house because I was using my parents' Wi-Fi, and since the top of the roof is metal, it was very hard to share the Wi-Fi even though I'm so close to my parents. So I had to buy a specific thing and figure it out. But for a long time it would cut in and out and I would never have any Wi-Fi or service. Now honestly guys, that's it. I can't think of anything else that I hate about my tiny house. I just love it so much.
My house is tiny and it's not finished and I don't have the money to finish it, and I feel like that has kind of ruined my social life a little bit. The other day I had a dinner party in my house, and this is part of me deciding not to let the imperfectness of now ruin my life and my ability to like enjoy it. So in our sitting room we just have this one sofa and one armchair. That's not enough for that many people, and the kitchen didn't have any kind of dining table in it at all. So I bought one of those like butterfly tables, you know, the ones that fold out either side and have the storage for the chairs underneath, and that takes up the entire kitchen. I managed to like smush 6 people around this 4-person table with 2 additional folding chairs, and it was a hard work because there's no space on the table for food, there's no space anywhere for anything, and I forgot some food. I left some food in the fridge and I left some food in the air fryer because there was so much stuff everywhere that I got a bit confused. I lost track of what was going on.
But you guys, let me know what you think. Would you actually live in a tiny home if it meant drastically lowering your housing costs? Or would you rather have a traditional home even if it meant paying more? I don't see it something I will be doing anytime soon. Maybe if I end up by myself somewhere, and then that might be okay. But as of right now, I have a family, so I do like to have my own personal space I can go to and be alone. And living in a larger house gives me that option. You guys, let me know what you feel about the whole tiny home situation. Do you live in one? I would really like to know your experience. Leave that down below. If you enjoyed my video, please remember to leave it a like, and if you're new here, subscribe.
But here's one thing you need to understand if you are buying a tiny home. Please find somebody reputable that's been in the business for at least 2 years. Find out where they have these homes located at, other than their lot. Find actual customers and see if you could visit their home. A lot of people are going to tell you no, but some people will talk to you on the phone. Start joining Facebook groups and looking on Reddit to see if anybody's had any discussions about that particular company, and just beware out there. Buyer beware.